If you're struggling to pour latte art, then this video is really going to help you level up your latte art game and go from this to this. G'day home barries, I'm Ride, your coffee coach, and I know how hard latte art is. I've made over 1 million coffees in my lifetime as a barista and I still struggle to do very complex latte art. Obviously, a quick disclaimer, I'm no longer making coffees every day on the machine. I'm like yourself, at home making 1 or 2 coffees a day, and so my latte art isn't as perfect as it would be if I was doing it 1 million times, but these tips are really designed to help you get the best latte art, even doing 1 or 2 a day. I'd love for those people who watch this video to let me know in the comments below if this helped you or if it didn't help you or what could help you further. I'm really trying to make these latte art videos for you home viewers so that you really get the benefits of if I was there in your home showing you, holding your hand. And of course, consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. But otherwise, just enjoy the video and hopefully you get as much out of it as I'm putting into it. Okay, now a few things first before we get started into the actual tips, and they're just general tips. You need to have absolutely silky milk with no bubbles whatsoever in it. So if you're still struggling to get silky milk without any bubbles in it, then you need to go first check out this video, which is designed to teach you how to get that silkiest of silky milks. Then come back here and I'll start to teach you some of the basic latte art tips. And also, if this is your first lesson in doing latte art, like you haven't even been able to master any yet, start with a latte heart, because everyone that I see tries to jump ahead to the rosetta, the fern leaf, because that looks sexier on film and it looks better in your cup. The first design that you really should master is the heart, because it sets the foundation for every other design pretty much here on out. Now, choosing the right equipment, like your cup, is essential. You want to have a low, wide mouth, rounded cup. Now, your favorite mug might be a huge, tall, square one, but there's no point in trying to learn how to do latte on that. You'll just put more struggles into your life than you'll want. If you're trying to do a tall, thin one, it's much harder to get your milk jug in there. This is an Acme cup, which is actually a professional latte art cup, and there's other precision ones. There's Loveramics and other brands out there, but you can just get one. I'm sure you have one in your cupboard. Just make sure it's got a nice rounded edge, it's got a nice wide mouth so you can get your milk jug right into the back there, and it's nice and low, so you're not having to try and pour and bring up the crema in a nice tall jug like this. So that's really essential to starting. If you don't have one of these, go and grab one, because it's much harder, even in this cup which has square sides, it's much harder to perfect your art. Now, I've really tried to plan this video to give you as much information and impact you at home as best as I can. So let me know if I've got it right, and don't skip ahead. I know you want to skip to all the other parts that you might not know, and then you might miss something that's crucial to really leveling up your latte art game. But let me know as well in the comments if this helps and what might help in the future. All right, let's get into the first tip. So build your base canvas first. Now, what do I mean by your base canvas? Well, when you've extracted your coffee, your espresso, the brown crema, you want to bring that up about 2/3 of the way up the cup, so that when it's tilted on an angle like this, it's sort of sitting right to the edge of that lip. And that's the basis of your design. That's going to give you the best contrast for all those complex designs like rosettas, swans, Pegasus, seahorses, everything there. If your base is completely brown and then you're adding the nice white milk onto it, you're going to have the best contrast. To do this, you want to hold your cup at sort of a 45-degree angle and your milk jug there, and you want to hold it a little bit higher than you would normally when you're starting to pour your latte out. This just helps pull all the white milk underneath the crema. Not too high, because that will cause splashes. You're moving both your jug and your cup in concentric circles, slightly offset, so that you just sort of can control the height and just mix in the milk with the crema. And that way it'll create a nice sort of thicker base for your canvas. And so when your milk gets to almost the lip, that's when you can pause for a split second just to let it set, and then you can start your design. You don't want to pause too long to form a crust, just enough to let it set on the sides there, holds it in place, and then begin your pour. Now, there is another way of pouring and lifting up the crema, and that's to pour on the side of your cup. So it hits the side and it spins underneath the crema, and it just sort of spins the milk up. I love this for doing hearts because it creates a little bit more variation, just makes your heart look more interesting. However, when you get to the more complex designs, you don't want to use that method because you really want it to be clean and all one solid brown color. And that way you just get better contrast and your latte art designs will stand out a lot more. Understanding milk flow. This is probably the hardest concept to grasp, especially over film. I would love to be there because I could actually hold your hand and show you how milk flows out. But I'm going to try and explain this in the best possible way. Hopefully we can use some animations to show what's going on inside the jug. But when you steam your milk, I don't know if emulsifying is the right word, but you're combining those little air bubbles with the milk so that you're creating basically 2 layers of milk that are sort of combined at the beginning. One I'm going to refer to as cream, and that's the creamy part of the milk, so the top texture. And then we're going to call the other one just the thin milk or the milk. If you let it sit after you've stretched your milk, if you let it sit, you'd notice there forms a really nice crust on top. That milk becomes really crust. And then when you tip it, the crust stays on top, it floats, and the watery milk pours out. Understanding the milk flow is controlling the level of the cream and the watery milk so that you can best manipulate your designs. 2 ways to control that is the tilt and the height. So when you're pouring from above, the higher it pours, then when the milk falls in, it pulls in the milk around it so that it lets the heavier milk, the thin milk, go underneath the crema, as opposed to laying when you're holding it low. What will happen is the cream will come out and it will sit sort of on top of that, on that surface, on your base, and that's what causes the nice contrasting whites. You need to get comfortable with using both hands because it's not just, I think one of the biggest mistakes that people do is they just only use their right hand or wherever the milk jug is holding and not this hand. This is really important, combining these. It helps you move about and it just helps correct any of the mistakes. So sometimes you can actually fix some of the mistakes just by pouring. When you get really good at pouring from a height, you can actually erase your art and start again like this. So it really helps knowing what distance where the milk starts to lay on the surface and where the milk starts to pull in underneath. From an upright position, the less you tilt, the more you're going to end up with the bottom milk coming out. The more you tilt, the more the cream will come out on top. So I see a lot of mistakes people make is that they don't pour enough at the beginning and they tilt it a little bit, and therefore they end up with really thin lines, and obviously most of the time they don't get a nice design at all. Or they pour like that and then all the cream comes out and it creates a huge blob over everything, fills your cup up really quickly, and then you don't have any room to do anything else. Understanding when you're building your base, you want to 45 degrees pretty much on both. That helps you pull up the nice brown crema. And then when you go to lay your first part, you want to pull it really close to the bottom and you want to place it in the center. If you're doing a heart, you can place it a little bit more to the front, but especially if you're doing something like a Rosetta, you're going to start sort of at the center and almost at the back, and you want to keep that 45 degrees angle, maybe even a little bit more, to really start to see some of the whites sit on top. And you'll notice it really quickly, how quickly when you're tilting it more, that white just starts to spread out. Now, sometimes when you're pouring, you might want to force a bit more of the cream on top. You have to imagine if we zoomed inside and cut this milk jug in half, if the milk was sitting straight across there, that as a little wave, and if you pulse this forward, you'll actually push a little wave and it sort of picks up the cream and it pushes it forward. So if you're struggling to get milk sitting on the surface and you need a bit more hand, you can push it forward just gently, and that just creates the wave and forces the milk to go on the top. And that helps fix any problems that you might be having with thin, watery designs. Okay, so let's start with the heart. As you can see, I've got my base built. I'm going to start sort of to the front middle of the cup, And I'm just going to tilt this until it starts to flow out. And you can see now the milk is billowing out. Now, I can move it left and right to correct the shape of it. And I can pull it up or down depending on how much I want to create a billowing effect, how big the heart I want it to be. So the more I pull up, the smaller the heart will be. And the more I keep it low, the bigger the heart will be. Now, when it's getting close to the top, I want to straighten up my cup and keep my milk jug nice, a little bit higher, because that will then be able to pull through the back of the cup and just create the tip of that heart. So I'm going to build my base. You can see I'm moving my milk jug. It's on an angle until my cup's almost 2/3 full there. Now I'm going to drop it in the middle, and I'm just going to get that milk coming out. And then when I'm finished, I can lift my milk cup high and pull it towards the back, and that creates the nice tip of the heart. So there you go. They're my first few tips on how to perfect your latte art designs. Please, as I said before, let me know in the comments how you've gone about it, if these tips helped you, if they haven't helped you, what I've missed, anything that I can do for my next videos to help you get as much value at home as you possibly can. I'm Raj, your coffee coach, and as always, enjoy your brew.